The sun is setting over the Jezreel Valley, and you're looking down at their camp. You can't count them. There are too many people. Tents as far as the eye can see, campfires dotting the floor of the plain like an entire city that simply appeared out of nowhere. 135,000 men, camels without number, the smell of smoke, animal dung, and heated metal rises on the wind to where you're standing at the top of Harod. The Jezreel plain opens up beneath your feet, flat and wide as a table, the kind of terrain that makes a massive army look even larger, because there's nothing to hide its full extent. And you have 300 men. Not 3 hours ago you had 10,000, and before that, 32,000. And before any reduction, before any test, before any order that goes against everything you've ever learned about how war works, you had the simplest logic in the world on your side. More people, more chances. Now you have 300 men, and a clay jar in your hand with a torch hidden inside. The man beside you is named Purah, your servant, your armor-bearer, the only one who will go with you later tonight when you do the most insane thing you've ever done in your life. Go down alone into their camp to listen to what they're saying among themselves. But before talking about that night, before talking about the attack, before talking about what happened when 300 clay jars shattered at the same time in the middle of the darkness, you need to understand who you were 6 months ago, because 6 months ago you were the most afraid man in Ophrah. Your name is Gideon, son of Joash, of the tribe of Manasseh, of the clan of Abiezer. But clan doesn't mean much here. The clan of Abiezer is the weakest in Manasseh, and you are the youngest son in your family. The first thing the angel said when he appeared to you was, "Hail, mighty warrior." You were threshing wheat in a winepress, not in an open field, in a winepress, that pit carved into rock where grapes are normally crushed. Because in the field, the Midianites see you. In the field, they take everything you have. 7 years they've been doing this. Every harvest, every crop, every hope of having something left for the following winter, they show up with camels, with tents, with their whole family and their flocks, invade the Jezreel Valley like locusts, the text's own word, like locusts and in uncountable numbers. And what the land produced, they take. The livestock, the wheat, the olive trees, everything left, they eat. What they don't eat, they destroy. All of Israel hid in the caves. Rich people, tribal chiefs, experienced warriors, everyone in the grotto, on the hilltop, in the cleft of the rock. 7 years of this, 7 years the land producing a harvest only to have it stolen before it reached the storehouse. 7 years of children growing up not knowing what it meant to have flour in the house until the end of winter. 7 years of grown men turning into children every time they heard the sound of a camel bell coming from the east. And then the angel appears to you, who are hiding in a pit so no one sees your family's wheat. And the first thing he says is, "Mighty warrior." You look behind you to see if he's talking to someone else. He isn't. You answer with the most honest thing that fits this moment. "My Lord, if the Eternal is with us, why is all of this happening? Where are the miracles our fathers told us about? We have been abandoned. We have been handed over into the hands of the Midianites." It isn't anger. It's the voice of someone who is hungry, afraid, with 7 years of humiliation in his bones. And the angel answers, "Go in the strength you have. Deliver Israel." You, "But how? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my family." That sentence is important. You're not being modest out of politeness. You're doing the math out loud. The weakest clan of the tribe that isn't the most powerful in the north, and you, the youngest son. By every measure of power, prestige, and lineage that exists in this world, you are the least obvious choice possible. And that is exactly why you were chosen. But you'll only understand that later. You ask for a sign. The angel accepts. You prepare a young goat, a broth, unleavened bread. You place everything on a rock. The angel touches it with his staff. Fire rises from the rock and consumes everything. The angel disappears. You stand there looking at the smoking rock. That would be enough for any reasonable person, not for you. That same night, you destroy your father's altar to Baal, the altar your community uses. You cut down the Asherah pole, the goddess statue that stands beside it. You burn everything, using the wood of the pole as firewood. And you do this at night, with 10 servants, because you are afraid to do it in the daylight. It's right there in the text. You don't do it by day. You do it at night out of fear. In the morning, the town wakes up to find the altar destroyed and wants to kill you. Your own father defends you, saying that if Baal is really a god, let him defend himself. And your father gives you a nickname that sticks, Jerubbaal. Let Baal contend with him. The Midianites and the Amalekites then cross the Jordan and camp in the Jezreel Valley, 135,000 men. You send messengers to the northern tribes, Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, Naphtali. 32,000 men show up. You look at this army. 32,000 against 135,000. Nearly 4-to-1 odds against you. It's already terrifying, and God says there are too many people. You stand right where you are when you hear that. The explanation follows immediately. If Israel wins with 32,000 men, they'll think they won on their own strength. They'll take pride in their own muscle. They'll forget who gave them the victory. And Israel already has a track record of that. They win, forget who helped them win. Go after another god, suffer 7 years of Midian. So the order is direct. Send home whoever is afraid. You make the announcement. Whoever is afraid can go back. 22,000 men leave. You watch them go. 22,000. More than 2/3 of the army. And you understand something about fear that you can only understand when you see the greater part of your army walking in the opposite direction. Fear is not cowardice. Fear is honesty. Those 22,000 men didn't lie. They were truly afraid, and they truly left. The 10,000 who stayed were either brave or crazy or hadn't quite processed the numbers. God says, there are still too many people. You have 10,000, the enemy has 135,000, and it's still too many. The next order, take them to drink water. Observe. Separate those who drink one way from those who drink another. You take the 10,000 to the spring of Harod, that source at the base of Mount Gilboa, where you're standing now, and you watch how each one drinks. Most kneel directly at the water's edge, put their face in the current, drink face down. Those dismissed. They go home. 9,700 men. 300 remain standing. They cup water in their hand, lap it from their palm, and while drinking, their eyes keep sweeping the plain. Those stay. 300 sentinels. In an army of 300, everyone has to be a sentinel. And now you have 300 men against 135,000. 450-1 against you. It's no longer a difficult battle. It's a complete mathematical impossibility. And God says, with these 300, I will give you the victory. You don't argue because there's no argument that fits this situation. No possible negotiation. You stand at the edge of the spring of Harod, the Jezreel plain opening before you, 135,000 campfires down below, 300 men by your side. And then God does something you didn't expect. He says, if you are still afraid, go down to the enemy camp. Stay outside, listen to what they're saying. After that, you'll have the strength to attack. He knows you're afraid, not because you said so, because you always have been. Since the winepress, since the sign with fire on the rock, since you tore down the altar at night, since the 2 times you asked for the sign with the sheep's fleece because once wasn't enough. Fear has been your constant companion for 6 months. And God doesn't tell you to stop being afraid. He tells you to go down anyway. You call Purah. Purah is your servant. Probably young. Probably not fully understanding what the 2 of you are doing going down the slope in the dark toward a camp of 135,000 armed men. But Purah goes, without arguing. Without asking for an explanation, the two of you go down. The smell of the camp reaches you before the sight of it. Camel dung mixed with the fat of burning meat and the smoke of green wood. Tens of thousands of animals and men concentrated in a windless plain. You hear the heavy breathing of the camels, the occasional crack of wood in the fire, muffled voices coming from the nearest tents. The Midianite advance guard is camped at the edge of the main army. You get close enough to hear what two soldiers are saying inside a leather tent. One is telling the other about a dream. The dream. A loaf of barley bread rolled down the hillside toward the Midianite camp. It hit a tent. The tent collapsed, turned upside down, fell to the ground. The other soldier interprets without hesitation. That bread is Gideon. The God of Israel has delivered the entire camp into his hand. You stop in the darkness outside. Two Midianite soldiers in the middle of the largest camp in the world at that moment, in the dark, not knowing you're standing outside listening, are saying that you're going to win. You spent 6 months asking for signs, watching fire on rock, laying fleece on the ground, sending 22,000 men away, watching the army shrink from 32,000 to 300. And the last sign you needed came from inside the enemy's tent, from the mouth of a Midianite soldier telling a dream to another. You bow right there in the dark, with the invisible plain around you and the smell of camels and smoke in the air. And when you rise, the fear you've carried for 6 months hasn't completely disappeared, but it got small enough to fit in your pocket. You go back to the hill where the 300 are waiting. You divide them into 3 groups of 100. Each man receives a shofar, a ram's horn trumpet that produces that long cutting sound that carries for miles. And he receives a clay jar with a lit torch inside, hidden by the clay, invisible from outside. The plan is this. At midnight, the 3 groups surround the enemy camp on 3 sides. When you give the signal, everyone smashes their jar at the same time. 300 torches appear out of nowhere in the darkness from 3 directions at once. 300 shofars sound together, and everyone shouts, "The sword of the Eternal and of Gideon." You're going to simulate an enormous army surrounding the field from all sides, and you're betting the lives of 300 men on the premise that panic will do the rest. Midnight in the Jezreel Valley. The silence before is complete. The plain is dark. The campfires of the Midianite camp are like stars on the ground. You raise your jar. The others raise theirs. You smash it. The sound is on another level. 300 clay jars shattering at once in the silence of the night. 300 torches exploding in light, 300 shofars sounding together from 3 different points on the horizon. That horn sound that cuts through the chest and plants disorientation in anyone who wasn't expecting it, and you shout. Inside the camp, the chaos is immediate and total. 135,000 men suddenly woken in the middle of the night by a sound that has no explanation, by light bursting from 3 sides at once, by trumpets screaming from places no one can identify in the dark. No one knows where the enemy is. So each man looks at the man beside him and thinks he's the enemy and starts killing. 135,000 men killing each other in the darkness of the Jezreel Valley. The camels driven mad by the noise, heavy and fast, knocking down tents, trampling people, spreading fire from the campfires, the shofars continuing, the screaming continuing, the torches moving across the hills as though they were an army without end. Not one of the 300 needs to cross the camp's perimeter. Not one of the 300 needs to draw a sword. Not one of the 300 needs to aim at an enemy they can actually see. The battle is over before it begins. 120,000 fall by each other's hands. 15,000 flee toward the Jordan. You send messengers to the tribes who stayed home. Come out now. Pursue those who are fleeing. The people of Israel who left when you dismissed the 22,000, those people come out of the hills and the caves and block the escape routes. The Midianite princes Oreb and Zeb are captured and killed. Their heads are brought to you. The two kings, Zebah and Zalmunna, flee with 15,000 men beyond the Jordan. You cross the Jordan with 300 exhausted men, starving, with feet rubbed raw, having barely slept in days. They keep going anyway. You pass through Succoth. You ask the townspeople for food. The leaders of Succoth refuse because they don't believe you're going to win, because 15,000 Midianites are still alive, because Zebah and Zalmunna are still free. You promise you'll be back. You pass through Penuel. Same answer, same promise. You find the two kings at Karkor with what's left of their army. You attack from the direction they weren't expecting, from the side with no sentinel. You capture Zebah and Zalmunna. You return through Succoth. You keep your promise. You return through Penuel. You keep your promise. And you personally kill the two Midianite kings, because they killed your brothers on Mount Tabor, sons of your mother, and you swore that as long as you were alive, you would not let it pass. The army of 135,000 men that invaded the Jezreel Valley no longer exists. After all of this, the people of Israel come to you. Rule over us, you, your son, your grandson. You saved us from the Midianites. You look at them, you who were threshing wheat hiding in a pit 6 months ago. You who asked for a sign twice with the fleece because once wasn't enough. You who went down at night to the enemy camp with a servant because you needed to hear two Midianite soldiers telling a dream to believe you were going to win. The people want to make you king. You say no. The Eternal will govern over you, not I, and not my son. This is Gideon's finest moment. The only man in that entire period who rejected the crown explicitly, boldly, out loud, in front of the people who just venerated you. But then you make one small request. You ask for the gold earrings of the defeated warriors. The Ishmaelites wore gold earrings. Each man throws an earring onto a cloak spread on the ground. When they finish counting, the weight comes to 1,700 shekels of gold, nearly 20 kilograms of gold melted down from the battlefield. You use that gold to make an ephod. An ephod is a priestly garment, a ceremonial worship piece woven with gold, blue, purple, and crimson, reserved for the high priest in the tabernacle. But you are not a priest. You are a judge, a warrior, the man who won 450-to-1 odds with torches and clay pots. You place this ephod in your city, in Ophrah, and the people begin going there to worship it as though it were an oracle, as though the sacred garment were capable of giving answers that only God has. The text says it exactly this way. It became a snare for Gideon and for all his family. You defeated 135,000 warriors with 300 men, a horn, and a clay pot. And then you yourself built the trap your family could never escape. You live 40 more years as a judge over Israel. The land rests for 40 years. You have 70 sons because you have many wives. And you have a concubine in Shechem who gives you one more. That son's name is Abimelech. The name in Hebrew means my father is king. When you die, Abimelech goes to Shechem and asks his mother's relatives for support, with 90 pieces of silver taken from the local temple of Baal, the same god whose altar your father had, which you destroyed, which the people went back to using after you died. Abimelech hires men with no scruples whatsoever, and he goes to Ophrah, and on a single stone he kills the 70 sons of Gideon, one by one. 69 die. The only one who escapes is Jotham, the youngest, who hid in time. Jotham climbs Mount Gerizim, and from up there shouts a fable down to the city of Shechem below. The trees wanted to elect a king. They went to the olive tree. The olive tree refused because it preferred to give oil to God and to men rather than sway above the other trees. They went to the fig tree. It refused. They went to the vine. It refused. They went to the bramble. The bramble accepted and said, "If you have truly chosen me, come and take refuge under my shadow. If not, fire will come out of me and consume even the cedars of Lebanon." Jotham flees. Abimelech rules Shechem for 3 years. And then the fire came out of the bramble. Courage doesn't come from size. It comes from knowing how to enter even when you're afraid. You were the most afraid man in Ophrah. 300 men against 135,000. And you won not because you were the strongest, not because you had more people, not because you never trembled. You won because you went down even while trembling. The trap you built afterward with 20 kilograms of gold, that's another story. The trap your son built with 90 pieces of silver, that's another story. The system has no memory for heroes. The system has a cycle. And every time Israel rested from outside enemies, the next enemy was born within. If you want to understand how Samson, the strongest man Israel ever produced, destroyed himself from the inside out before any enemy could get close, subscribe to the channel because this is just the beginning. Next video, POV, you are Samson. And Delilah still doesn't know the secret.